Let's fucking roll.
Welcome back. We're in the McBastards Studio today. I'm Banyas. You're listening to the Salty MF Go podcast. Today we're really excited to talk about a local leading surfboard maker, Barrette Surfboards. We've got Austin Barrette here, who is just a great guy, surfer, good guy. So welcome to the show, Austin.
Thanks, brother. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, we ran into each other, I guess, through kind of this whole Southern Surf Slam that just happened up at Lanier Olympic Park. And, I've seen your boards and what you're doing and kind of the background of your story. California guy,
Yep.
now Georgia guy, but bringing some great boards to the world from Georgia. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah, man. I discovered you, saw you guys were doing a bunch of work with the Southern Slam, and came on your page by accident. And I was like, these guys are badass. I'm going to send these dudes a message. And that's where we're at now. I mean, it kind of led to this. But yeah, we just moved over here to Georgia, my wife and I, from Southern California. And we're going into our 6th year as Barrette Surfboards. But I've been doing this obviously a lot longer. And obviously a big pivot too, because now we're not on the ocean. Yeah. I'm on Lake Lanier. And so while I'm still making like some surfboards, now we're doing a bunch of the wake surf, and you can see them behind you, but it's been such a big change both culturally and just from a design aspect, like almost reteaching myself how to make surfboards because these things are so unique and weird, honestly.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because, growing up in California, and we were talking about Laguna Beach area, and, you grew up surfing. So, switching to that kind of, that lake, wake surf, wakeboard type stuff. The culture, you grew up, we were talking about surf culture, right? And, it's obviously different kind of, growing up on a lake behind a boat than being out in the ocean. So what do you like wakeboarding yourself? Do you like wake surfing? Do you love that too?
I'm still getting used to the wake surf stuff. And to be honest, I'm glad we're touching on culture early because that is definitely something I want to expand on. But like going from surfing waves that are head high or over to surfing something that like comes up to my kneecaps. I mean, the first time I came like behind a boat, first of all, you're talking about like a $400,000 boat. It's badass, right? Yeah. But it only spits up a wave that's, at most waist high. Yeah. First time I got up on the board, I could not find out where the power behind like the boat was. I could not stay on the wave. Yeah. I was like, where the hell is this thing, everyone expects their shaper to be at least a decent wake surfer at this point. Yeah. But no, first couple of times I only went out by myself with a close friend because I knew it was going to be a rough adjustment. Yeah. But no, I'm definitely doing some cool stuff myself as far as tricks and turns, and I can now actually feel why my boards work just through repetition and practice of my own. But I'm definitely relying on my pro riders and dudes that I'm like, hey man, just like take this board. I need you to ride this thing and tell me it sucks. That way we can make some adjustments.
Yeah. I want to, I'm telling you, I want to commission a board, not only for surfing, but I want one in here. So we'll hang it from the ceiling. Cause I have intentions. If you've kind of probably seen how crazy I am just 20 minutes before we came on.
I love it, man. You and I are so similar in that way.
So I'm kind of a nut, but like I really do want to, do the collab and cause we've got to create, like we have all kinds of people that like our brand, beach people, surf people, snowboard people, so, screw it. Let's do it,
Yeah, it's weird because when we moved to Atlanta, I was like getting ready to hang up my planer and just be done with shaping. But I almost didn't know that we're actually kind of in the middle of a lot of things. Like, yes, we're super inland, especially out here. So access to the beach isn't quite as easy, but still you're either a 2-hour plane ride back to Virginia Beach when the swell's firing, 5-hour drive or whatever to the Outer Banks. But we've also got mountains you can snowboard on. You've got all the lakes we can wake surf on. There's kind of a plethora of things. And then obviously like we talk about like mountain biking on the mountains. I do a lot of that. It's not California. I'm never even going to compare it to that. But in California, we did have all of that available to us as well. The beach was just in my front yard. not
Yeah.
5 hours away.
Yeah.
So
It's, you know, it's stuff I was telling you before. So, you know, we grew up skiing behind a boat. You know, there was no really kind of wakeboards and stuff. And then when my kids got of age, I bought my first Centurion, which is Centurion, badass boat.
yeah.
And so, you know, I wanted to, they're like, get rid of the skis, Dad. That's old school, you know? So I got behind it and I could do some stuff on that. But, you know, surfing to me, you know, I always wanted to go surfing. So my partner who lives in Fernandina Beach, there's some decent surfing around there. Some, you know, we went last year to Panama and, it was amazing. They weren't huge swells and they were trying to, you know, get my fat ass up at the time. Like the guys behind me, like, dude, you know, you look like a gorilla climbing up on this. I'm like, dude, my knee's shot. I can't get my leg out. I can't pop up, dude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you and I are both big people. I'm 215 pounds, you're 220, and we both played football. So surfing, like when people look at us, we're not surfers on paper, but here we are, you know.
Some old guy and his wife are kind of expats down there in Panama. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like 6'8". You're a good dude, buddy. Every morning when we would go out and like practice, so he'd watch me, I guess, from his window. And one day he came out and he just said, I love watching a big dude try to surf, man. You know,
Yeah.
He goes, you're entertainment for us.
Well, it's funny. When I was super young, when I first started learning to surf San Clemente, California, right? My dad and one of his business partners took my buddy and I out, and sure enough, the kid's now on the world tour of surfing.
Holy shit.
But the dude is 6'4", 225. He's the biggest surfer on the tour. And you should see, like, dude comes off the top and, like, throws a hack, and it just sprays across. Like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Cole Houshman, there's your plug. But,
yeah, you're Cole, buddy.
yeah, dude is an absolute badass, and it's awesome because I was there on the very first day that he ever stood up on a wave that, you know, was head high for us at the time. We're 4 years old or whatever it was, but now he's traveling the world, winning events. And if you haven't heard of him, you certainly will, because he's the next big dude.
That's awesome. We need the big boy surfer tee out there for Cole.
Dude,
we'll get him some big boy surf tees.
I don't even know what the dimensions of his actual shortboard are, because you know, like someone that's normal size, like a 5'8", 5'9" surfer, they're surfing like potato chips. I don't even know what Lost Surfboards is making him, because he's so damn big. You know, he's probably surfing something like I do.
Yeah,
but it performs.
And they had us on longboards, because there's no way I would have like done it. But I tell you, there's something about it, kind of trying to feel the wave and kind of it was really. I mean, it's almost like, I hate to be goofy about it, but I mean, it was cool. Like it was really something unique versus getting behind a boat and, you know, cranking down ski and going, you know, 40 miles an hour on skis. It really, I can see why people like really enjoy it, you know?
Well, there's something to be said about like the bug, you'll hear it called. Like you catch that first wave, and all of a sudden, like the way you lived before is different. Everything you're doing is like gearing towards surfing. Your vacations are like, you're looking at the waves of where you're going at, because you just want to surf on your vacation, right? And I think when it's being done behind the boat, you have such easy access to a wave. It's consistent. It's the same size. But when you're out in the ocean, you're like literally trying to catch like ocean's energy, right? And it's so different. There's so many variables. And when you accomplish that, even if it's just on whitewash, there's something to be said about like, it's like a drug almost. Like you just want to do it again and again and again. It's not that I do drugs or anything, but
I get it. It's a high. It's a natural high.
No, it is a high for sure. Catching waves in the ocean is something that will never be comparable as far as catching a wave in the lake just behind a boat. So,
well, what do you think about, like, I know that you guys were involved in that surf ATL, I keep wanting to call them Surf Atlanta, but Surf ATL, and those guys were on our podcast early, like when we were really starting, and they were saying, hey, we're building kind of a surf park. And I'm like, oh, like a wave pool? You know, I didn't know, but I guess there's one in Waco as well. And when I looked it up, I was like, oh shit, like this is pretty legitimate, you know? That coming to your area and being a local, what would be a local board maker, really, I would think would be a pretty good opportunity as well. What do you think?
Dude, it's humongous. Like I said, my wife and I moved from SoCal just last September, October. We moved, and then I don't think I met the Surf ATL guys till December or something, but it was actually the party where they announced that they were going to start breaking ground on the pool. I had no idea. This was like, I'm just here to party and having a couple of beers. And there's Spencer from Surf ATL talking about the pool. And it's going to be like 30 minutes from my house. And so all of a sudden I go from shaping boards 10 minutes from the beach, and now I have an opportunity to shape for a pool. And that pool scene is definitely growing. You know, in Virginia Beach, they're getting ready to break ground on one like 5 seconds from the beach. There's some in California, like Palm Springs and stuff. And so, yeah, like the thing about the ocean is it's not predictable. And so there are seasons when there's no waves. And so you can just now pop one up and, you know, it doesn't matter the desert where Palm Springs is, right? And have a head-high barreling wave.
That's crazy. Well, I think we should do Barrette Surfboards and Salt EMF. We need to have our own shop and all these. So Spencer, you got to save some space for us up there so we can sell our boards and our gear and just our general, you know, fuck it attitude.
Dude, no kidding. I mean, one thing that I'd already talked about with them is like they actually want to bring me in, hopefully, to design a shaping bay and have someone on scene to do custom boards. Cool. And I mean, because as like the pools have kind of started becoming more frequently built and stuff, I now have people requesting models for the pool because it's not like a normal wave. It's a little steeper. I mean, yeah, they can adjust it and stuff, but like the dimensions of a pool, I call them pool toys or whatever, are a lot different than what you're catching in the ocean. And so I've already got models ready to crank out. And here I am 30 minutes down the road. So
that's great. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see that. I mean, you know, also we can have a line called Pool Toys.
Yeah, have to. I mean, it's honestly become like a general term, almost like a fish board, right? So many board builders are now making pool toys, if you will. And I just had to adjust to times and make a couple of my own. And it's just adjusting the rocker, bringing the length down, etc. So specific concaves, but we're ready. I'm ready to go for when that time comes. I know we're probably, I don't know, 2 years out until they actually break a wave off. But when that time comes, I definitely hope to be a part of it and at least be on scene. I mean, if I could do that full time instead of corporate America, I mean, geez, that'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome. Let's work to it. I think, you know, you and I were talking, I really, I mean, I've seen like a lot of your videos of you like doing your work, and I think that's like really so cool. Cause I can't do shit, dude. I can't put in a friggin' bolt or screw. I'm like got 10 thumbs. I got that from my dad. Thank you, Michael Banyas. My dad always told me, he goes, never let them know you can do anything. So,
well, dude, I am the same exact way. Like my wife asks me all the time, like, how can you make beautiful surfboards, shape and craft all these things in your shop, and you can't fix our house for shit, you know? At this point, I just have buddies come over and do that kind of work for me. But it is a miracle that I can make surfboards because I am not handy at all.
That's awesome. So my dad had a friend named Will Dewberry, bless his heart. Will's gone. He was a good man. He was a good friend of my dad. I really appreciate him. He was that dude that could do anything, build decks, do whatever. And I was coming home one day from school, and Will was a big dude. I mean, he was probably 6'3", whatever. And this guy's 30 feet in the tree with a chainsaw. And my dad's on the porch drinking a Miller Lite. And I come in and I go, Dad, what are you doing? Like, Will's going to die. I mean, he's got a rope on him. He's a big dude. And he goes, well, just go out there and catch him if he falls. I'm like, I'm going to catch a 250-pound dude as he drops. I said, no, but my point in that is, find a good friend that can fix shit and only gets paid in beer. They're the best friend you can have. And thank you for all those dudes out there that do that. So
I'm not one of them. So I'm not plugging myself in. If you crack your surfboard, drop it off your boat. I'm here to fix that, but don't ask me for anything else. So.
I love it. What have you just as far as kind of the wake boats? Like, do you have a favorite that you've kind of gone behind or?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the first boat I ever went behind was a Moomba, and that was a pretty good wave. And it was the only wave I knew at the time. So whether I was actually sucking or not, I'm not sure. But that was a decent wave. I moved over to an Axis. One of our good buddies, Adam and Leah, they take us out like middle of the week sometimes, and they have a great wave. But honestly, this is maybe my plug for sponsorship, but Brock's Centurion is by far the best. I've been behind the Nautique G23. super steep wave, kind of a learning curve. Honestly, the Centurion had the best push for me. I mean, I landed my first 360 on it. It's the one that Brock trains behind.
Yeah.
It's my favorite right now.
It's a
for
good
sure.
boat. I was really sad I got rid of it because, you know, you get your point where your kids kind of got older, and, you know, when we first got it, we would go, you know, every weekend, on the week, whatever, during the week. And then as kids get older, they're doing sports and all that shit. But I look now at what they cost new. Like, shit, this is probably 6-7 years ago. So my boat, I'm like, shit, I wish I would have kept that.
That's an appreciating
Absolutely,
item right there,
absolutely.
man. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, Brock's boat cost what my house cost. And I've got an acre of property and a shop in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, you know? It's just ridiculous. You know, we're talking like almost $500,000 boats.
Absolutely.
And yet we still haven't figured out how to make a wake that barrels, you know, that you can stand up in. But, you know, I don't even want it. I'm just coming into the scene, but I'm already hearing like all the people who have houses with docks on the shore, like complaining already, surf boats suck. And whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, who cares? Whatever. I mean, who cares? You know, and they really didn't like it when we were younger. There was none of that shit. You just did the tube where you rock their docks. You know, we're spinning in circles and tubing it. So piss off, lighten up, dude. Have a beer, relax on your dock, asshole. But well, so just as far as like, why did you decide like I want to make boards? Like, what did that moment that you transfer from? I'm surfing. I love this. I grew up surfing, and now I'm like, I want to make boards. Like, what happened there? Anything?
Yeah, there is for sure a definitive moment. So, like I said, I grew up Orange County, and so the scene of shaping was in my backyard. My dad and I grew up getting custom surfboards from Mike Walters or Timmy Patterson. Lost. It doesn't matter. And so, the shaping bay was not a foreign concept to us, and my wife and I were living in Virginia Beach at the time. I bought a brand new WRV board. It cost me, I don't know, $800 or something. And it rode awesome for like 3 sessions. And I paddled out one day, and a bunch of longboarders on one wave, they don't know what they're doing. Dude's fin goes right through the middle of my board. And I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm so over buying brand new boards. I'm over spending $200 on ding repairs. And from that moment, I literally ordered a blank that same day, made my own board. And that was going to be the end of it. Like, I just needed another board to surf. And from there, I think one of my buddies was like, dude, that thing is sick. And then I made a board for a buddy, and then another buddy.
Yeah.
And then once I went through my whole friend group, mind you, I'm probably losing hundreds of dollars doing this. All of a sudden I start getting hit up from people in other states, people in Florida, back in California, Hawaii, you name it. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not really good enough for this yet. I'm getting more interest than I have for skill. And I kind of used that to practice, I guess. I'm not going to say my first 50 boards were amazing, but now I've made well over 600 boards. And I think I'm just getting to the point where it's like, I could shape you 10 of the exact same board with, and here's what I tell my customers, like, an 1/8 of an inch variance and maybe a 1 to 1.5 liter variance, you know, basically saying like, I can shape those boards pretty damn close from hand so that they have the same amount of foam. The rails are pulled the same way. Concaves are all even, fin placement, you name it. There's so many factors, but I've done it so many times, I can kind of just see and feel it. And by the way, speaking of being handy, like, I don't use math in any of this because it is a very mathematical thing. Like, I've had actually like a couple high schools hit me up and like, hey, can you teach this as a curriculum? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I can't, because I don't take measurements. I do it all by eye and feel, and I rush through it. And I've figured out how to make that work for me now, 400, 500, 600 boards later. Before that, there was problems, and I'm going back and fixing things, but bringing on like people to actually ride for me and like tell me, hey, this board sucks because of this. It's been humongous to my own progress.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's an art, right? I mean, it's an art, and that whole, first, you know, a lot of shit, they put out a lot of books and shit about bullshit, but I believe that whole 10,000 hour thing, like if you've done something for 10,000 hours, whatever the hell it is, sales, you know, whatever you're doing, building boards, I mean, become an expert. It becomes natural to you how to do it, right? It's not a big deal. So I believe that, and I appreciate that, because if I could put math in anything, we're gonna have square cars, and I don't know, man. But so you do in the knife, you do some things around knives too, just for the
This is just going to tap into my ADHD, honestly, because yes, I do the surfboards, but then I'm looking around my shop and I don't waste, but I go through so many materials. So like glassing a board, I try to mix up like the perfect amount of resin for that board, but still I bring resin off the board and it falls onto my table. And over time I've got like a stack of resin this thick. And I think this dude named Martin Surfboards or whatever out of San Clemente, he takes his resin and recycles it he makes shift knobs, rings, all sorts of stuff. And I was like, well, that'd be sick if I can do something like that. And so I just thought, like, I'm just going to take it and make knife handles.
That's awesome.
And so it started with something simple like that. I just epoxy the resin, or epoxy the hardened resin on, shape the handle. And then I was like, well, what if I want to make the knife too?
Yeah.
And so like the first 10 of them, I just ordered blanks from a buddy. And now I'm actually taking them off like a giant piece of steel and just grinding them into my own knives. And I'm giving this one to you just so you can have it.
That's awesome. Let's see it.
But this is,
that's awesome.
That board's got like 4 or 5 different like surfboards inside that resin. Obviously at the time I was doing a bunch of blue and red boards. And so you can see like different layers. And if you really like look at it, there's a bunch of different boards in there and it's all recycled. And I also made that blade, which that one's my best one. I'm not going to say all those are great yet. Yeah. And I'm not really advertising knives, but if someone wants them, I make them for my buddies at work sometimes, and just here's one, whatever. They don't. That's
awesome. You get a board, you get a custom knife too.
For certain people, I actually do that. So that is kind of where I wanted to go with this, is like, hey, I'm going to make you a board and I'm going to use the extra resin to actually make the handle for this knife.
That's awesome.
And the piece of metal cost me like $30. Yeah. So I'm not losing money. I'm already losing money making the board practically. So,
but that's, it's so funny because I've been an entrepreneur since, very young, in my early 20s. And I always tell people like, oh, well, how did that go when you first started this? When I'm like, maybe we freaking lost money for 3 years, 4 years. Even when we started Salty, the interesting about Salty, we made money the first year, which was kind of, I think, because we kind of managed our costs pretty well, but it's part of the process. You're not going to just go out and all of a sudden be a name brand. It takes years and years awareness, or people saying, oh shit, I got this Barrette surfboard, man. This is all, well, what's that? Where are they? So you have, the thing that I like about with people is like, you took a passion that you're doing, right? So it's an easy transition to like build a business. Like if I got into surfboard, what the fuck this guy doing? This guy can't do anything, So I think you get credibility for that, which is important, specifically when like you're talking to people, hey, tell me if this board sucks. Because if I got on one, I would think, well, I'm the one that sucks. I don't know if the board sucks or not.
No, seriously. And I think one of the big things that that's maybe hindered my business is, this is like the 5th time my wife and I have moved back and forth across the country. Yeah. And so every single time it's really just trying to get a read on our new community. Like when we moved to San Diego, I hit the ground running. My shaping bay opened up practically to downtown San Diego. We're in South Park. And so the foot traffic and everything, like at no point was there a time where I was not shaping a customer's board, ever. I was almost way too busy. At that point, I was scaling down because I've got another job. Yeah. I've got my National Guard stuff, whatever, right? Yeah. I'm just like, all right, I can only handle like 3 boards at a time. Yeah. But I also pride myself on my turnaround times, which are, 2 to 3 weeks at most for a custom board. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to like do that kind of like guy math in my head. Like, all right, I know I got to go to work for 8 hours today. I'll tell my boss that I've got a doctor's appointment, so I can go glass this board at lunch, come back, and I'll be able to get this board done in a week or whatever. But just moving to Georgia, I'm definitely, like we talked about, like maybe losing money at this point because I'm trying to put boards in the water that
Yeah.
anyone can enjoy at this point. And it's really just trying to help, like, well, it's really trying to get the people here in Georgia to understand exactly what I am, because here in Georgia, I don't think people understand like the opportunity that I actually give them. So like, number one, they just go to their local shop, like Pole or One Wake or whatever it is, and there's a board. It says it's going to work good on the rack, and bam, they spend $1,500 on it, right? Board wasn't made for them, but yeah, it might work good enough for them to enjoy wake surfing. But did you actually get to see how that board was made? Was that board made for your surf style, your height, your weight? No. And I've been trying to push this a little, but I think people just aren't understanding quite yet that when you get a board from me, I invite you to come make it with me. We're going to sit down and talk design before I even cut any of the foam, because I want to understand if you're a front foot or a very heavy footed surfer, or you surf off the back foot, if you're 200 pounds or 160 pounds, whatever it is, I'm going to ask you 300 questions to fully understand like what you do in the water. And then we're going to go into the shaping bay, and I'm going to walk you through every single part of building the board, from cutting down foam with the planer. And I'm going to give you the planer too. I'm not going to let you mess the board up, but you're going to absolutely do a lot of the manual work that's required to make your board. And the reason is this is the turning point in my own surfing. When I started making my own boards and understanding that I'm going to put my fins here and my concaves here, and I'm going to shape my rails this way, and that's going to make the board do X. I could rely on my board to be predictable in the water, and all of a sudden, whether what I did was actually true or not, I still had a level of trust with that board that allowed me to surf better, bias or not, right? And now that I've made so many boards, I do understand what different components of the foam and the glassing and everything do to the performance of the board. And so like if you came and got a board for me and I said, hey, we're going to put a double concave here, and you're going to see the board break at a hip here, and this is going to help you cut when you're trying to do these tricks, et cetera, right? I'm not going to get too nerdy about it.
I love it. Yeah, no, well, you're a surfboard company. I mean, you have to be, I mean, that's difference in mass manufacturing versus custom whatever, right? I mean, it matters if you care about it, or if you're passionate about what you're doing, right? I mean, so it does matter. Like I just thought of this. So I knew this guy, he was a fly fishing guide, and he started making bamboo fly rods and started doing that. He's got a business now that, like, his thing is, I'll teach you how to make the fly rods and everything about that, right? The dude is like you can't get in there till 3 years out. So everyone's coming in and they're like learning. It's kind of the same concept. Hey, you want to learn how to really, make boards, surfboards? I mean, he crushes it for fly rod. A little different with fly rods, but
and before we even started, like you and I were talking about, like we're super anti-culture, anti-establishment people, and so like one thing I'm just super against is what we call pop-outs in the industry. Boards cut off a CNC machine, and then you've got a team of glassers and sanders. And I guess one of the things that's like one of my pet peeves, and I see it in the wake surf industry more, because like truthfully, the wake surf industry's 5-10 years behind the surf industry in innovation and anything. They'll say, oh, well, your board's handcrafted, right? Well, what does that really mean? Like, there's only two ways to really make a board. You either hand shape that and you get in there with your planer and you're sanding everything and then you glass it and sand it, or it comes off a machine.
Right.
And so one of them, like the way I say it is, everything I do is hand shaped, handmade, whatever you want to say. But when companies try to say, oh, your board's handmade, what does that actually mean for them? It means, oh, we pulled the board off a machine, it cut it, we designed it on a computer, which I do too. I design everything on a computer, but I don't use any of that to actually make your board. I give it to you so you understand what you're getting before we actually do it. It's helpful because we can get all the numbers and the nerdy things on my laptop before we even cut the foam. But still, using the phrase handmade is almost like saying hand-shaped, but it's not. And so they're trying to make you think like, oh, these boards were handmade.
Yeah, they actually took it off the line and carried it with their hands.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the packaging.
I'm not wording it well, but it's either hand shaped or it's pulled off a machine,
Yeah.
right? And there is an application for the CNC machine, right? Like you create this magical board. We now have the technology to scan these boards into the computer and replicate them. And so I've never done this, but let's say I made a board that just absolutely went insane. It was a magic board,
Yeah.
and I needed to replicate it. I don't know what I did because remember, there's some variance in my boards. One mistake on my end could have resulted in the perfect board, and I would have no idea what I did. I could technically scan that board and throw it on a CNC machine and just replicate it. So that is an application, and I'm not trying to throw disrespect or hate to any of the CNC guys there, but if you're going to call yourself a shaper, I think you really need to know the art of hand shaping before you even go into that CNC world.
Well, it's absolutely. Do you same thing with knives? Do you want a custom knife, a handmade knife that someone, sat there and did it, or do you want, do you want this? Well, great knife. They're going to make a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, but like this is really cool. I appreciate this. I like this a lot. So.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm not
wear it
going to say
around.
that's the best knife either. It looks really cool.
You know what? A best knife is like I like heavier knives. So if I can if it's weighted and I can feel it, you can tell. Like I like weighted knives. What gave it away that I was anti-culture when I showed up with the fuck off tee? Did that give it away?
Maybe a little. Yeah, no.
Oh shit. Well, what are some of the things like you would want to tell? Like you just went through obviously thorough what you're doing, how you're doing it. Like if someone's looking for a board, because a lot of people want to get into surfing, wake surfing, ocean surfing, pool surfing, whatever it may be, and they don't know. They just go in and see a cool looking, that board's gold and it's got a lightning bolt on it.
Sure.
That looks cool. So, like people getting into it, like what advice would you give them if they're going to, I'm going to go buy a board? Like I would have no idea. I would walk in and go, oh, that one looks cool.
Yeah. So the most important thing is do your research and see if you have a local shaper.
Right.
Here in Georgia, yeah, that sounds like I'm being biased because I'm your only local shaper, right? But
that's good news, by the way.
That is good news for you guys and for myself. But no, let's say you're in San Diego. Go find your local shaper because they're making boards that are made for the waves that you're surfing. Right. They're doing it with their own hands. They're taking time out of their day to work with you instead of just copy and pasting off the CNC machine. And those boards, 9 out of 10 times, are going to surf way better than your mass production boards. In the wake scene, definitely a little bit different, right? Because a Centurion's wave is going to be the same in Lake Hartwell that it is in Lake Lanier, that it is in any lake in California. And so the ability to work with your local shaper really just comes down to like the relationship we can build. And so let's not say you actually live down the street. So you find online that, oh shoot, I do have like a local shaper who's making wake surfboards. Let's see what this is about. Well, you can come to me and say, hey, I suck at surfing. I'm just getting into it. And from there, we can design a board that not only allows you to get up and work on your weaknesses, but also builds on your strength and allows you to progress. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's what I was trying to get out. It's a great point. Mm-hmm. Because to me, wake surfing, I never really got it. Because I'm not on the lake a lot. Mm-hmm. With the rope, you get in wakeboard and fuck it, I'm gonna jump up, go ham, right? But it was very difficult for me, to be honest. And I've got good balance and all that, so maybe I set a shitty board.
That's definitely the case. And like where I was kind of going with the anti-culture stuff is, number one, like I don't make boards to be like iPhones, right? They're not designed to break over time. I want to hopefully make that one board that works for the next 5 to 8 to 10 to 20 years, as long as you take care of it, right? I glass them. I don't glass them too light, but I don't glass them too heavy. These boards are built to last. But the one thing is like, if you find, how do I say this? Like, so every single board company has a style of shaping, right? Well, yes, I'm a custom shaper. I have a certain way that I do things that I think works, but let's just say it just does not vibe with you. I don't want you to ride my board because I'm a brand and you want to be so culty into my brand.
Right.
I want you to ride the board that you can take out there and have the most fun on, because it's not fun when you're struggling and you're just not getting any better. And so if I'm not the right shaper for you, I'm not going to sit here and make you sign a contract saying you have to ride my board on these boats, right? And that's actually going to lead us into culture a little, because I did want to expand on that.
Yeah,
From
go
the
for it.
surf to the wake culture. Surfers, what are they? Like, it is kind of stereotypical. A lot of them are just bums who like to go out there and surf all day. And you have two sides to it. You've got your dudes who want to go buy your pop outs or whatever and buy the new $800, $1,200 rip curl suit. That's totally cool. And then you have the guys that are maybe more like myself, who want to work with their local shaper. They travel around in their van, whatever it is. But in the surf scene, purely the ocean surf scene, there's a total coexistence. There's no crazy buy-in to specific brands. And like, for instance, myself and my shaping buddies in California, we made boards for each other. And like, the majority of my quiver at home isn't even my own boards. They're boards my buddies and I would go shape for each other and go surf and have beers after and whatever. Like,
has meaning to it.
Total meaning, right? Our clients, the dudes who ride our boards, they're not stuck on, I'm only riding Barrette surfboards. I'm only riding Lost Ark surfboards, whatever it is, you know? There's such a cool, like, coexistence of different brands and ideas, and everyone's so chill about it. Where the difference is on the wake scene that I just like haven't quite gotten too stoked about is the money involved in like total buy-in to these different brands, right? So like, you've got, like I mentioned earlier, like these $500,000, $400,000 boats. And so you're dealing right away. I already knew, like, all right, I'm dealing with a much richer crowd. By the way, like, I used to sell surfboards for less than wake surfboards go. And we're talking about 2 to 3 times the amount of actual foam and product that goes into it. But there's a level of money that's in the wake surf scene.
Absolutely.
But I think that money and stuff is kind of like actually ruining the culture to a degree. So like, yeah, we're at the Southern Surf Slam. I had my tent in between a couple other brands, right? And I was hoping to find some more team riders, more people to tell me my board sucks so we can get better. It's true, man. I just want feedback. Like, I don't care if you don't want to ride for my brand in the long term. I just want you to go out there and let's make a cool board together. If it works for you, awesome. If not, let's get back in the bay and make some adjustments so it does. But what I quickly came to realize is like, we've got like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, all the way up to like, 50-year-old team riders who contractually can't even look in my direction because the owners of their other brands are like, no fucking way you're going to go talk to that other brand. He's recruiting you. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I just want to have a good conversation about surfing. Like, that's all it is. It's their choice if they want to come surf for me. Like, and so like, there's an instance most recently. There's a 15-year-old girl. I'm not going to say her name, but she's a local girl. Her dad posted one video of her on Instagram and she's ripping. I mean, she's definitely like going to be super talented. She's just a lake girl. She grew up on the lake, whatever. And I hit her up. I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you over at the bay. If I'm the right brand, I'd love to make some boards for you. Her dad pretty much tells me she's gotten hit up by every brand in the industry. That's awesome for her. And I totally am stoked. But I wanted to make sure I informed the dad, like, hey, just so you know, once you get into those contracts, it's kind of like a no turning back kind of deal. Like, you're not going to be able to work with me after that because these companies are going to be so damn aggro about like, you can't talk with other board brands. Oh, you ride on Centurion? I don't even want to see you on a Malibu boat. Like,
absolutely. It's unfortunate because it's everywhere though. Like we've been involved in this name, image, and likeness NIL for sports, and we've got like 80 something or 90 athletes now, and we were just getting into it to highlight, you know, certain people, whatnot, who the top 5 guys were or whatever. And, you know, we've had several people that like, they started with us. We did some stuff. We just give them gear. We're not Nike giving them $1 million contracts, obviously. But like, they would come back and say, I really love you guys. But like, I can't wear your stuff. And I'm just thinking like, okay, we're not Nike. We're not Under Armour. We're not trying to be Nike or Under Armour. You're like dictating that this kid can't wear a salty tee or a salty hat or whatever. It's kind of ludicrous, like, to be honest with you. But I get it. I mean, they're probably investing big money in them though.
Yes and no. I mean, I have my own team riders, or I have people, I should say, that I let test my boards, and I make them for those people. Well, each board costs me, $200, $300, $400 to make. That's out of my wallet, you know. I'm funding that with my other jobs. And so these companies that are making, thousands of boards a year, they're not losing any money.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's really just like, it's like I go back to, it's like having an iPhone. It's just, does an iPhone work? Yes, it works pretty good. It's going to break over time. It's designed to break over time so that you have to get another board and you look good because you have the Apple brand in your hand.
Yeah. But I think small business entrepreneurs, like what we're doing here and what we're talking about, building some boards and doing that stuff, that's like, when you get that culture, like that surf culture you're talking about, like then from California and whatever, I think when you get that culture, like you're not trying to go to the masses.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. I mean, you kind of start to understand, like when people kind of, like, I think you're obviously a good dude. I mean, I like you. Like you said, we're both ADD, HD, whatever. I mean, we're off the fucking charts. But that's what I like about you. But the point in that, if we can build a community around all that and whatever, it's not about that. And I think when you look for people like that, everybody thinks, I can tell you from the NIL thing, everyone thinks their kid's going to get $1 million contract. They're freaking not. So very few of those people are getting. So all the parents out there, and I coached for 22 years, that think little Johnny is going to get a $10 million NIL deal. It doesn't work that way. Out of the 650,000 athletes in the NCAA or whatever it is, very small people are getting these big contracts. So if you have a small business, obviously seeing the surfboard business or the apparel/media business, and they are giving your kid anything, attention, helping promote them, do it, because you're supporting the community that those people are in. It's a misnomer. We all think, oh, we're going to be billionaires or my kid's going to be, they're not. And it's going back to the same thing. This guy with a 12-year-old kid on a lake thinks he's going to be, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but probably not.
Dude, such a perfect point, especially to relate it back to NIL, because everyone, like every one of these 50-year-old parents with like 12-year-old kids, their kid lands a 360 and all of a sudden they're hitting up the big brands asking for sponsorships, or the sponsorships are coming to them. And I'm like, I never even had a chance at this. Like 90% of the time, if I've talked to someone, they've talked to everyone in the industry. But, that's just, I don't even want to even touch that. I like to stay in my own lane. And like, to sum up my whole culture in one thing, it's like, I want to definitely build that community of people who love surfing for surfing, not because they look good on a certain brand, not because they want a free boat, just because they want to go out there and progress on their boards. If they want to compete on them, that's badass. You and me are both competitive as shit, right? Like that is what it is. And I'd love to see my boards at the top of a podium. That's cool. But like, that's not why we're making boards. And if you come over to my team, right, and I air quote team, I'm not forcing you to sign a contract with me. I'm asking you to trust me and my methods. And the first board, it should work really great, but ultimately you don't ride like the next person. And so if we have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 boards, that's how it has to be. And that's why I don't charge $1,500 for boards. Could I make a huge profit off of you? 100%. The margins are crazy. But I purposely don't do that because I want to instill some trust with my customers and have them feel like, hey, this board was really good. It worked awesome. Everything you said it was doing works. But there's a small tweak, whatever. I'm not going to charge you that $1,500 again. Actually, what most people don't know, if I make you a board and it flat out doesn't work for you, you're getting another board for free. If your board breaks within the first year, you're getting a board for free. Like, yes, the only reason I'm charging you money is so that I can justify to my wife why I'm in my garage for 6 hours a day. Like, that's it.
with a couple Miller Lights.
That's right. I mean, that goes unspoken, right?
Well, I love it, and I want to. I'm dead serious. I mean, I want to help promote this, and because I know you're a good guy and I know you're an honest guy, and that's the thing about it. I think people in the world get caught up in all this horse shit or who looks cool and whatever. If you can find honest people doing good work that really give a shit about it and are actually, you know, good people, you should do business with. I don't care. I don't give a shit if you're making trash cans or apparel or surfboards or whatever. You should support those people because no one gives a shit. I'm not going to knock Nike or whoever, but they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't care. You know, they don't give a shit.
Well, what people also don't realize when they support my company, they actually don't know that they're actually supporting a number of small businesses in our direct
wanted you to
area.
talk about that.
So on my site, it says that 85, possibly more % of your board is made from materials sourced from local manufacturers, right? My foam comes from Atlanta or Gainesville. The cloth I get comes from different boat yards that I work with and other, whether it's the Total Boat down the road from me or a couple other local dudes I buy my fiberglass from. I choose most of the time to go to someone who I can basically have my resin sent to, and then I can buy it off of them. That way I'm supporting them in a way. Could I, shortcut them and order it myself? Yeah, is it saving me a little bit of money? Kind of, but it's not something I'm very concerned about. And so when you look at the total product of my board, considering the foam and fiberglass, which is 90% of your board, that all comes from local people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm not having it sent from China. Some of it comes from California because it's honestly monopolized. And actually, small plug-in, I'm getting ready to start or launch a line of surfboard blanks for the East Coast. So having shaped in Virginia Beach for a couple years, that's where it all started. Right. One thing is we had to wait for blanks to come from Oceanside, California to Virginia Beach, which luckily we would mass order and stuff and have 40 blanks ready to go. But when those 40 blanks ran out, if we hadn't already placed that order, we were waiting weeks for boards. Now I'm an East Coast manufacturer that can bring probably the highest quality EPS foam to the East Coast, and you're waiting a fraction of the time. It's going to cost way less. And guess what? You're now boosting not only me as a small business, but my foam manufacturers and the guys I'm using for transportation, all the other stuff, right? It becomes such a local asset to the whole East Coast, you know?
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it hasn't launched yet, but if anyone on the East Coast needs EPS foam, I'm here for it. I can make your blanks. I make all mine completely by hand. You know, I get this giant chunk of EPS and hot wire out, blanks. And I got my buddy Jason to do that for me. He's a local dude out of Gainesville, and we make blanks and I hand shape from there. You know, it's super badass to be able to support a dude, by the way, who works in his own warehouse by himself, that giant warehouse, and it's just him in there. He has no employees. And so I go in there a couple times a week to get my own blanks or whatever, and we just shoot the shit for a couple hours. He doesn't even, he makes all sorts of foam products, and I've got a great deal with him, and he's going to make he makes all my blanks no matter what, and just my blanks. And so that's where we came up with it. Hey man, I want to support you and grow your business. Yeah. At the same time, I want to make getting blanks to the East Coast much more easy. It's just whatever. That's
what all this is about. Like this platform is giving us an awesome thing. I mean, we've been with hemp companies, peanut butter companies, salt companies, surfboard companies. It's a cool thing where everybody's kind of working out. And what you find is there's a lot of synergies across all these different people, where someone can benefit. This is a time to take a break for freedom. I do want to talk about Chuck Schumer trying to ban Zen. So in honor of freedom in the United States of America, where consumers shouldn't be told they couldn't buy something, I'm going to throw in a Zen. Here goes Schumi. But anyway, sorry, I had to do that.
That's I got to get my plug-in.
I had to get my knock in. I gotta I can give him a knock. There we go. But anyway, sorry I had to do that. But
No, I love it. You're an all-American guy, and we're an all-American company. Like, I will not source anything that I see is made in China. Like,
Yeah.
just you know what's actually crazy? I see brands now, wake surf brands specifically, building huge business in Russia and China. And, you know, that's cool that there are riders in Russia and China. I'm here to make boards for Americans. I'm just going to leave it there, you know. First of all, I don't know if one
Siberia
of my other,
Surfing?
yeah, I don't
The
know.
Siberia Surfing Company?
I don't want to limit my crowd here, but I have a special place in my heart for people in America buying my boards.
I'm doing the Siberian Surfing Company.
You can take it, man. I don't want it. Seriously.
Oh shit. Well, you know what? I mean, the good news is about this is let's do some shit. I really do want to do some stuff. I like you. I think I will do some stuff. I know that it's new. We can fumble around, we can mess around, but I have such a big group of people I like that are just snowboard guys, and they keep pounding me like, dude, if you guys can make like some boards, we'll ride for you. We'll put them on there. And so fuck it. I don't know if it takes a 600 to get to it.
Dude, I don't know either, but like just this week, I've never even been on a hydrofoil. You know, those things that you float on the water.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
I just made one in my garage yesterday. I mean, it's taken me the last week. It might work, it might not. If it works, I'm not a genius. It's a complete accident. But
that's where it goes on top.
Yeah. So you basically attach, it looks like a wake surfboard. It's a little thicker, and you've got the mast, and it like comes out of the water. Pretty big. Like Kyle Lenny in the surf scene is riding, 100-foot waves on it. It's insane. Well, people can do it behind the boat too. It's just another feeling. And to me, I hope it feels like I'm jumping out of an airplane because you're floating or whatever. But,
all right, well, I got to call out John Brinkus over Brinks TV. He does that. I drove his boat for him while he was doing that thing. So we're gonna get you out on Barrette Surfboards, his first one.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll make you sign you got to sign a waiver.
Yeah, sign the waiver. I'm not liable for anything that happens, but I do need someone as well to tell me that my foil sucks, because that is a very mathematically involved thing, and I can tell you, I did not even pull out a ruler on it. I shaped it. It looks good.
Hey, look, if you give me a 12-pack of beer, I'll get behind a boat and give it a try. So
I mean, even if you're not flying on the water, you still might feel like you're flying.
Yeah, I want to know the difference. If I can just stand on it, I'll be happy. I got 10 feet.
Yeah, so one way or another, we'll figure out snowboards. We'll figure out foils.
Let's do it.
So
well,
I'm down.
I mean, I do think, and I'm not trying to distract you, because, you've done a good job with Barrette Surfboards, and that's something that you're passionate and want to do. And I want to support you. I do want to commission a couple boards for Salty. I like some that, may never be surfed. I want to be in here, but one that's actually, so you won't have to put too much work in that, because it won't hit the water. But
I mean, what's cool is everything I do, as you already know, is completely custom. So if you're like, dude, I want a picture of my ass on the board, I could print out a picture of your ass on rice paper and put it on the board, and there it is. Whatever it is. But your whole brand, this whole thing could look just like this on a board. So the customization,
we've got some killer stuff in, because I was saying, like, a lot of our people go out and they're snowboarding out in Colorado and whatever, and they're wearing our stuff, and they've been trying to get us to do something even just around jackets, snow jackets, gear, stuff like that. And I mean, we're kind of in the lane, so it doesn't really matter. And you haven't seen it yet, but I gave you a shirt. We gave you our Surfers Keep It Wet tee. So and then obviously, with you being in the military, we gave you our tactical McBastards. So we created this brand for esports, and they're like, what are you gonna make? I'm like, we're calling them the tactical McBastards. So it looks more like a military shirt, but.
Well, I feel like I'm already a tactical McBastard.
Yeah, you are a tactical McBastard. You're in the family. You're already here. Hey, when you come in, if you're sitting down here, you're family. But man, I really am glad you came in. I'm glad we met, and I definitely want to. We're gonna promote the hell out of it. So any of you guys out there that are looking for custom boards, or just trying to get into it, or get a feel for what's going on, Barrette Surfboards are here local. You guys are out of Flowery Branch, right?
Yeah, my shop is, well, this is awesome. My shop is in my backyard now.
Awesome.
When my wife and I were looking for the house, I went through the front door, out the back, into the shop just to see if I could make it work. And then I came back in to see if the house was livable, which it was. But we're out of Flowery Branch, right off Hog Mountain. And 10 minutes from Lanier, which is sweet.
That's awesome. We got to get some of those Falcons guys up there. We got to get them on some boards too.
Dude, no kidding. Especially with a couple of my high school teammates playing there.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Austin was a good football player too. So I played at VMI. So we were talking about that. It's I love the fact just how you've taken kind of something that you really, enjoyed, and it's not if you've made that many boards, it's not a hobby. That's what I tell people, like, oh, is this salty thing a hobby? For like, it's not a hobby. I mean, it's definitely the real deal. People look at things where that's fun and cool, and they still think like, well, it's still business. It is
it's
fun.
business, but on the other hand, it's my way of unplugging from the world. Like, because I've done it so many times, I'm actually really not thinking about anything I'm doing on the board. Like, I just disappear into my own brain. I've got my reggae music playing, a beer on the shelf, whatever it is, and like in the next 30 to an hour, all of a sudden I look down and your board's done. I'm like, oh shit, there it is. So I hope it's good. Nah, there's more to it, but seriously, I do disappear in the process, and I'm happy that that's where I'm at now in the shaping process. So.
Well, dude, I think you've done a good job, and we've got some boards behind. We'll also, I'll tell you what we'll do. We need to figure it out, but we'll do a contest, and Salty will sponsor a board. So any of you guys out there that want to try out a Barrette Surfboard in your process, and you're technically legally okay to do that, Salty will sponsor and make your board. We'll put a co-brand on it and do it for you. So we'll figure that out after
That sounds sweet.
how to promote it or do whatever, but shit, let's do. We want to get it. We want to get our salty Barrette Surfboards out there. So we need someone who's a salty motherfucker that's not scared to get out there and ride one of our boards. I'm not going to put a picture of my ass on it. So
thank God. Not just telling you, if you're that crazy, I mean, you can certainly do it.
Well, maybe we will.
I've done boards where like that picture of the dude like flipping someone off. I've printed that on boards. I've had some weird requests that sometimes I'm just like, all right, that's too much for me. Like, chill out. But
calm down, sir.
Yeah, a contest in the future would be sick. And
let's do it.
I'd love to do that, and also collaborate with Wake for Warriors too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that I do work with them and build adaptive boards for those guys. Honestly, like, I take a lot of the profit that I do make, which is my justification for making them, and throw them into making boards and developing for those dudes. And I've got some videos on my Instagram of Tyler behind the boat. He's on a chair. I work with this guy named Luke.
That's awesome.
Who manufactures. That's badass. And like, that's like my own niche and purpose for why I do a lot of it. It's just cool that I can now pour into that as well. So we're going to figure out how to make the reason I even started the foil was to see if we could actually get some of those guys up on a foil, because we're talking about a bunch of like ex-Special Forces dudes, Navy SEALs, whoever they are, who are so used to flying and jumping out of planes and all that. And I feel like them being on a foil would be pretty sick. So we'll see what happens.
That's amazing. So we can help with that too, man. We'd love to. We'd had Chris Cathers in here. I don't know if you know him, but Brothers Keepers Foundation, Veteran Foundation. It's kind of prevent, veteran suicide. Good guys, awesome guys. That whole community's just, brothers, and everyone's looking out for each other, and that's cool. But so we're going to do the board. We'll figure that out. We'll sponsor that. So any of you riders out there that you want to step up and you're not scared and you're outside the material world, come on and let's get some shit done.
We're looking for team riders. We want dudes who rip, and we're not going to force you to do anything here or there. We just want you part of the family.
That's awesome.
Just no pressure. I'm a no pressure kind of guy that's anti-culture to this business, and if you're anti-culture like that, come join us. So. Well,
it's becoming the in trend to be anti-culture for obvious reasons. But well, you want to tell anything you want to tell everybody where to find you guys, and how to get in touch with you, and all that good stuff, and we'll.
Yeah, we're not too hard to find. My cell phone number is on my website. It's barrettesurfboards.com. I think I've got it spelled all over the place. I'm sure it'll be somewhere on the podcast or whatever. But numbers there. I'm on all my social media, Instagram, whatever. Just reach out, because it's honestly so easy. I got my website where you can actually go in and I forget what tab it's under, but like the shop tab or whatever, or make your board tab. there's basically a questionnaire, and it gets sent to me the second you fill it out. You're not paying for anything up front, but pretty much within the next like 10 hours, most of the time it's in the next 30 minutes, I call you right up and like, got your thing, let's talk about the design. And within the next like a couple hours, I think one of our cameras just died on us, but you've already got a whole mock-up. So it's as easy as that. It's
Killer.
I make it super easy on the customer.
Well, you heard it. We've got Austin Barrette, owner of Barrette Surfboards here locally in Georgia. Reach out to him. We're going to get involved and do some things with him, do some fun stuff. He's an all-American guy, pro-American. We've got boards made here in America. So if you're looking for a board made in Siberia, good luck, or China, but we wish you well. But once again, Barrette Surfboards, check them out. That's all today for the Salty Meth Goat. Let's go.